Here we are at the University of Guelph to meet Dr. Stephen Newmaster, part of the Barcode of Life. This is an international consortium centered in Ontario. Over $80 million has been invested. They have barcoded the DNA of over 2.5 million species. But my question was, how do we use this in agriculture and what are the opportunities? So not only can we identify the species, but they can also make special probes that we can use in diagnostic, fast, rapid, and inexpensive. This can revolutionize agriculture in terms of our traceability and proof that the product the consumer is buying is actually in the product. This technology has massive opportunities for agriculture.
So our first building, the Biodiversity Institute of Ontario, garnered quite a bit of activity and interest. A lot of researchers that came in here, a lot of funding that kind of spun out because there were so many interesting projects and applications from those early barcoding projects that started at Biodiversity Institute of Ontario. So many that within 5 years we outgrew the building and we needed to build another building. And we secured funding through the Government of Canada to build the Centre for Biodiversity Genomics. And that's where we are today. We've been in here for a little over a year. And in this building, we're moving on to build more libraries. We're building, the Barcode of Life database, which is getting bigger. We're figuring out more applications to use barcoding, whether it's to test products in the marketplace, or it's to be able to apply it to agriculture, or in forestry, where we're looking at invasive species coming in after intensive forest management in forests, to be able to identify seedlings very quickly on the forest floor, the seed bank as well. There's so many applications and they kind of pop up. We use our R&D labs here in this building to be able to start flushing those ideas out. Biomonitoring is, I think, the next frontier. Consulting firms going out, old-fashioned way, taxonomists, people like me, field biologists, identifying specimens. Think of a world where now you have a gadget and you're going onto a site to biomonitor. It could be in the oil sands where they have to do environmental assessments. What are the species before? What are they after? Rehabilitation assessments. They all need biolayered data. They all need data where they have species that are identified on the site. And in the old days, we would collect them all and identify them as taxonomists. The way we're thinking about in the future we're going to be doing it is having some gadget that barcodes them. And we quickly get data on the specimen that matches to a library, and we get data on an expert identification. Here we are in the Biodiversity Institute of Ontario herbarium. An herbarium is a museum of dried plants. And these plants that are beside me on the table are dried, mounted, labeled, all the ancillary data of where they were collected, who collected it, it's all on top of these, in these specimens. For each one of these samples that sits in the library, the standard reference library, we pull a little piece of leaf off, and that leaf then gets DNA sucked out of it. It goes into the Barcode of Life. These samples come from all around the world. Mainly we focus on weeds. This is where the best collection of weeds in Canada here at the OEC herbarium. So the data sits in the Barcode of Life database, which is called BOLD. Remember when we were in the herbarium or looking at samples, there was a link from those plants in the herbarium to a data link that actually sits and resides in a database. So if you look at this maple here, this actual maple species, Japanese maple, this is the barcode. And this barcode is the plant barcode. It's not unlike the barcode you see in a grocery store, a bunch of lines on it, and those fine lines are actually colored here. Every one of these colors represents, a change in the sequence. So you could follow the sequence through. It's unique for this species. We could scan this and read it. And for every individual species, we have the unique barcode taken from the exact same region. So these two regions, the MAC-K and the RBCL, go together to make the plant barcode for any plant. So here's the unique barcode that was read for the sequence for this maple tree.
So as we began to build this DNA barcode catalog for species, it captured the attention of researchers around the world. We've been joined by colleagues from more than 26 nations now in the International Barcode of Life project, which is the world's largest biodiversity genomics project ever undertaken, headquartered here at the University of Guelph. Today we have over 2 million specimens in the Barcode of Life data system, representing more than 200,000 species. And having this information is incredibly important because many times we're confronted with trying to identify a specimen that is a larval or early life stage that's difficult to identify morphologically, or perhaps because it's a damaged or processed specimen that can't be easily identified. So some of the early work we did in my lab was to use barcoding to show that there was massive substitution in seafood products. About 1 in 4 fillets that we tested from North America were mislabeled, always a species of a lower market value being substituted for one of a higher market value. But we're also using barcoding to identify vectors of zoonotic diseases like ticks and mosquitoes and how they're transmitted, as well as weeds that contaminate agricultural fields, and many other species like quarantine pests. So as we build this barcode library of life and assemble a digital identification system for all of life, we can begin to use this to authenticate food products and make sure that they're free of allergens or gluten or other things. DNA doesn't lie.
Where we want to go with this into the future, though, is technology that's more mobile. And a lot of the applications that we see would happen right on farm, for example, or in the marketplace. And what industry is telling us is they'd really like to have some kind of gadget in the manufacturing process, or to be able to take out where they're buying materials, just to be able to check and see what it is. That's not too far off.